Thank you for purchasing the Spring Holder Upgrade Kit from merrithew Health and Fitness. This video will guide you through the installation process, but we recommend that you consult the owner's manual that came with this kit for more detailed instructions, information, and parts identification. This kit can be used on SPX, SPX Max, V2 Max, and Rehab V2 Max reformers. If you have a rack and roll or client model reformer, you will not be able to use this kit. Please contact customer care for other options when replacing your springs. Your reformer owner's manual also includes an equipment and maintenance schedule that shows daily, weekly, and monthly maintenance that will keep your equipment in tip-top shape. If you discover any missing parts or need further assistance along the way, call 416-482-4050, extension 264, or email us at customercare@merrithew.com. Before we begin, remove all parts from their package and place them in a cleared area in front of you. Remember that this is a two-person job, and to avoid possible injury, we recommend that you have someone with you to assist in the assembly. To complete the installation, you will need: if your reformer has a vertical frame, you will first need to remove it. To do this, remove all springs from the vertical frame, including the roll-down bar and safety chain. Now loosen the hex bolts at the base of the vertical frame. Hold the push-through bar securely, then lift the vertical frame out of the receptacles. If you're having any difficulty removing the frame from the receptacles, use a rubber mallet to tap the underside of the outer elbows to release it. Place the frame out of the way until it's time to reinstall it. Next, we'll remove the carriage. Start by removing the ropes from the pulleys and fully retract them. Then, remove each pulley post. If your reformer has removable shoulder rests, take them out as well. If you have an SPX or at-home SPX model, you'll need to remove the stopper plates at the end of the rails with a screwdriver. Now detach the springs from the gear bar, holding the spring with one hand and the gear bar with the other hand. Carefully slide the carriage out of the aluminum rails, keeping it level until it's completely free from the rails. Turn the carriage to one side, ensuring the floating rollers are on the top side and do not fall out. Then turn the carriage completely upside down and place it on the ground or a raised table. Use a blanket or other soft covering to protect the vinyl of the carriage. Now remove the springs. Using a 7/16" wrench or adjustable pliers, hold the cube at the end of the spring firmly in place. With another 7/16" wrench, turn the nylon lock nut counterclockwise. Once removed, discard the used nylon lock nuts, as you will use the new lock nuts provided with your new springs. Remove the spring and repeat these steps for each spring on your reformer. If you have older style springs that do not have the cube at the end, you'll need to grasp the spring coil a few inches away from the end and bend the spring down forcibly to 90 degrees or more to hold the spring bolt in place and prevent it from spinning. Now unscrew the nylon lock nuts using a 7/16" wrench. If you are having difficulties, please contact a customer care representative for assistance. The next step is to install the new spring holder. The replacement method will depend on the age of your reformer, as you may have either ropes or webbing holding your springs. If your carriage has rope webbing, you can move forward to the next section. For older carriages with rope spring holders without a recessed slot, we've provided a template to assist you to properly position the holder. Using scissors, cut out the left and right templates from the sheet provided. Place the templates, printed side up, on the corners of the carriage, lining up the curves of the template to the MDF board. Place the tip of the screw on the center of the printed X on the template and lightly tap with a hammer to mark the drill holes on the carriage. Repeat for the right side. Set the black plastic spacer onto the carriage with the holes aligned over the indented markings from the template. Then, place the plastic spring holder directly on top of the black plastic spacer, with its outer screw holes aligned with the spacer holes. Place 1 cup washer on each of the 2.5-inch screws and attach the spring holder onto the carriage. Be careful not to over-tighten the screws. For carriages with webbing spring holders and a recessed slot, start by removing the spring webbing. You will need to remove 6 screws. Simply insert the wooden spacer into the recessed slot on the carriage and screw it in. Align the black spacer with the outer screw holes and set the plastic spring holder onto the black spacer. Place 1 cup washer on each of the 2.5-inch screws and attach the spring holder onto the carriage. Be careful not to over-tighten the screws. Now you can attach the new springs. To do this, first determine which replacement spring package you have. Springs are color-coded with a ring of color at the ball end. Red is 100% tension, blue is 50% tension, and white is 25%. If you have 3 red springs, 1 blue spring, and 1 white spring, you have the high precision spring package. When installing your new springs, place the red spring in the outer positions, the blue spring in the middle, and the white spring to one side of the blue spring. If you have 4 red springs and 1 blue spring, you have the traditional spring package. When installing your new springs, place the red springs in the outer positions with the blue spring in the center. Now remove the nylon lock nut from the spring bolt and slide on the spring sleeve. Then thread the spring through 1 spring holding loop or a space in the plastic spring holder. Next, insert the spring bolt through the corresponding hole on the spring anchoring bar and thread the nylon lock nut onto the spring bolt. Finally, hold the spring side fixed nut in place with 1 wrench and using the second wrench, tighten the new nylon lock nut on the other side of the bolt. Remember not to use any of the old nylon lock nuts. Now both the nylon lock nut and the spring side fixed nut should be snugly tightened against the spring anchoring bar. Repeat each of these steps with the remaining 4 springs. With the new springs in place, you can replace the carriage on the reformer. First, remove the carriage stopper and wipe the inside of the aluminum rails to remove any dust or dirt. Spray onto the cloth first and not directly onto the surfaces, rollers, or aluminum rails. Then insert the carriage stopper in one of the 6 positions. Affix the spring replacement sticker on the underside of the reformer carriage. The date your springs were shipped will appear on the sticker that came with your spring replacement package. Springs should be replaced every 24 months. Now, with 1 person at each end of the carriage, carefully turn the carriage on its side, ensuring the floating rollers don't fall out and the fixed rollers never come in contact with the floor. Carefully guide the front rollers into the C channels of the rails and slide the carriage forward. Make sure to move slowly as the rollers are delicate. Support the carriage completely and ensure the back rollers fall into place in the C channels. Once the rollers are completely protected in the rails, guide the carriage into place against the carriage stopper and engage the springs into the gear bar. If you have an SPX or at-home SPX reformer, you'll need to reattach the stopper plates at the end of the rails with a screwdriver. Finally, insert the pulley bars into the receptacles at the rear of the reformer. If your reformer has the new quick-set pulley posts, like this reformer, insert the pulley posts and lock into place using pop-up pins. If your reformer is an older model, insert the pulley posts and tighten the star knobs. Make sure the eye hooks on top of the pulley bars run parallel to the aluminum rails. This will allow the pulleys to move more easily. If your reformer has a vertical frame, you can replace it now. Lift the vertical frame and slide it into the square receptacles, positioning the traveling pulley system so it's facing the carriage. For traditional models, position the highest eye hooks so they are facing the carriage. Tighten all 4 hex bolts and reattach all springs, roll-down bar, and safety chain. That's it. Your reformer is now good to go. Please be sure to review your owner's manual for use and safety instructions. For further information or assembly support, please contact our customer service team or visit our customer care area at merrithew.com.